What is going on, guys? Craig1287 here, bringing you yet another Battlefield Hardline beta gameplay video. Going on there in the background is just going to be a collection of 3 different rounds in which were all just pretty fun and enjoyable rounds. So hope you guys do enjoy the gameplay going on there in the background. For this video, I kind of just wanted to talk about not really any specific tips, strategies, or anything like that. I am going to be getting some videos up. I've got some very cool things that I just haven't heard many people talking about. I mean, there's a lot of the common things, like you can now walk up to the support and medic class, whatever they're called, enforcer and operative, and just retrieve your own ammo and health and things like that. Yeah, there's new things like that that I definitely will be pointing out, because there's still probably a lot of people out there that don't know, especially those that don't have access to the game. But I've got a few other things that are just much more just rare tips that I think a lot less people, that I haven't seen them in any of the Level Cap, Matimio, X Factor, Matt the Musketeer, Jack Frags. I haven't seen them in any of those guys' videos. So I'll be making videos specifically on those tips. They'll be very, very short. It'll just be 1 video per tip, maybe 2 or 3 tips. Something like that. But because I've got so much footage, my hard drive is getting filled up again, so I definitely need to get rid of some of this stuff. But so for this video, I just kind of wanted to, and this is all unscripted. I'm not really reading off of, I haven't even bothered making bullet points. I'm just gonna kind of be telling you how I feel off the top of my head. If things I feel, if they're important, worth noting, then I will be able to just kind of remember them off the top of my head. But basically, as you guys know from a lot of the videos that I did before the beta was announced, before the game even was known to be called Battlefield Hardline, I definitely voiced my opinion on the thought of having a game within the Battlefield series' name and it not being a military game, and I'm totally cool with having like the police themed game and things like that. And I even said I figured it would be a great game, but I didn't know if it would be able to capitalize or even portray on a true Battlefield experience. Now, what this game has been able to do, the Battlefield Hardline, through this beta so far, they have definitely created a fun game. This game is incredibly fun, incredibly action-packed. It feels solid. The way that the weapons handle, the way that the vehicles handle, everything delivers a very fast and action-paced experience. Not like arena shooter type fast. It's not Unreal Tournament or Tribes or anything like that. But it's the kind of fast that the past few Battlefield games have delivered, in that it's just very action-packed. The action is always very focused, but it's still very structured. You can still have a very tactical feel. You can still use a whole lot of teamwork. Again, one of the main reasons why I'm part of a clan is because of the Battlefield series. That's where I started out in TG, was because of Battlefield games, and I really wanted to have an experience of teamwork and actually being able to work well with other people and to coordinate. And that is still very, very present here. The 2 game modes that they've shown for the Hardline beta are very, very affected by teamwork, quality teamwork. You can't just be the solo lone wolf and get away with it. Things like collecting money in the Blood Money game mode, you want to time your collections with other people, because if you're pulling money from the neutral stash by yourself, you're going to be gaining your 100,000 at a very slow rate. But when you have multiple people on the point, you're not only getting multiple people grabbing money at the same time, but each person is gaining their money at a very increased rate. So things like that. You want to have good coordination, and stuff that the combo rows just can't quite deliver, and only being able to chat with your squad it's nice to be able to use the in-game comms and whatnot with your squad, but being able to chat with all the people that you're playing with in TeamSpeak or something like that will definitely help you guys out and increase your win potential. Now for the actual gameplay being a Battlefield type of game, because yes, it's capitalizing on the chaos and the action that you see in Battlefield games, but is it still a Battlefield type of experience? Now, I'm going to get a video out specific to one of the vehicles in the game, the Armored Rescue Vehicle, which is a very misleading name for something. You see the word rescue in it, and you think it's going to be something like, well, just an armored vehicle. But it's pretty much the Amtrak meets an IFV, the APCs from Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 3. And it's an amazing offensive vehicle, but it can't hold as much as the APCs or the Amtrak. So be looking out for the video specifically dedicated to that, because a lot of people, well, from the get-go, and myself included, didn't think vehicles would be that big a focus. Now, having played the beta, I'm very mixed on this, because I still feel that the vehicles are not a big focus. You can tell that this is going to be a much more infantry-driven game. No pun in, or it's a little irony there with the name. Infantry and it being driven, something you do with a vehicle. But, I mean, there's still tons of vehicles. There's a lot of the sedans. You've got a lot of armored SUVs and things like that. The white stalker van. And then you've got things like the armored vehicle that I was talking about that has the massive guns on top. You got a lot of things with miniguns. You've got the motorcycles. You got transport choppers, you got the scout chopper. So there's still a lot of vehicles. And if you actually look in the game's settings for the key bindings for the PC, you'll actually see a thing that says planes. So I doubt that means the AC-130. I don't think we're going to see that in this one. And you can't control it in previous Battlefield games. So I doubt they're going to have a key binding section just for that. So we might end up seeing planes of some sort. I don't know if it means just a UAV kind of plane that you can control it, kind of like the MAV or the UCAV or the SWAV from Battlefield 4. Maybe there'll be an actual plane like that as a UAV that you can control. I doubt it'll be a straight up like attack jet that we've seen in current Battlefield games. But there are vehicles. There are no tanks. There's not an AC-130. I doubt we'll see one in the actual full release of the game. It'd be very surprising if we did. So it doesn't really have a true Battlefield sense with tanks and whatnot. But there's definitely an emphasis on vehicular combat. You're gonna need engineers. Teams will get demolished if you don't have enough engineers or people that switch to the engineer class to fight a onslaught of vehicles. Teams can definitely dominate and win a round simply because they've got the vehicle dominance, especially like, again, that armored rescue vehicle. It is like the Amtrak. It is a spawn point. So things like that, you're going to want to have engineers, or mechanics as they're called now, on your team, because vehicles are a key important role. So like I said, I have very mixed feelings on that. There's not tanks, there's not APCs in the general sense. There's a vehicle that pretty much is an APC. And there's not attack choppers, and there's not jets. But it definitely does feel like a battlefield. It feels like a war zone, I guess you should say, is probably a more appropriate term. It feels like a war zone. It definitely feels like you're in a war. Let's see, what's some of the other things? The way the weapons handle in the game are very good. The general feel for the gunplay and everything is awesome. I love the way the maps are done. There's a lot of interiors going on. This definitely feels like it'll be very good Conquest type of gameplay. The maps are going to be huge. You can tell by what we've already gained access to. There's a lot of stuff that they've built that we don't have access to, and there's really no reason they would actually build all that, the geometry, if we weren't going to be able to access it in other game modes. So you can tell that there's going to be Conquest, and a lot more of these maps that we don't currently have access to just based on the game modes will eventually be available. And there's a lot more just interiors. So many of these buildings have that sort of close quarters feel that was the DLC for Battlefield 3. The destruction for taking out walls and whatnot. I mean, you can definitely tell when there's objectives around those interiors. For one of the modes, Heist, you have to get a briefcase up to the very top of a building onto the helicopter's landing pad. And at one of the points, you got to go up. You can take the elevator up there, but then you got to go up some stairs. And there's a whole lot of like office building kind of stuff going on up there. It's a lot of it's under construction, but there's still a lot of walls, and you can shoot through these things. And if you got the LMG, you just mow down through these walls. It's a very cool experience, like what you saw in the close quarters maps. Because it's just the minute destruction. You're not taking out buildings or or entire walls. You're taking out parts of walls, piece by piece, bullet by bullet at a time, and it definitely offers up that different bit of gameplay style that really favors the LMG class. So yeah, the game, it's very fun. I'm not the biggest fan of how the vehicles handle. They're very easy. I'm not saying that they're not easy to handle. I just feel that they're too easy. It feels a little too arcadey. You have these vehicles that have all this heavy armor and all these guns on them. You know, these things are weighing immense amounts, and yet it's like they have instant torque, and it feels like they have 1,000 horsepower. Well, they don't have a high top speed, but it's just that they pick up speed so quickly, and they're able to take corners. Not with drifting or anything like that, but through just taking the turn at their top speed, it seems like it's not difficult. So it seems very arcadey handling. I'm not the biggest fan of that, but it does help to keep the action. Excuse me. It does help to keep the action very ramped up, because you don't have to wait for this bulky vehicle to get going. You know, if you're weaving in throughout the vehicles on the road, it's not that big a deal. And when you actually stop to actually engage in a fight and shoot somebody or to pick someone up at an objective, it doesn't take you a whole minute just to get up to that good top speed, and it doesn't even take 30 seconds to get to a good speed. I mean, you're almost at your maximum speed within seconds. And you can continue that speed and that momentum through turns and weaving through traffic. You don't really feel like you're driving these hefty vehicles. So that's sort of a mixed feelings, but overall I am thoroughly impressed by this game. These guys have done a great job of creating something that is just truly fun. It's a very different experience from Battlefield 4. I am not going to stop playing Battlefield 4 once Hardline comes out. I'm definitely getting Hardline. In fact, I've already pre-ordered it. And I'm going to thoroughly enjoy playing both Battlefield 4 and Battlefield Hardline, just as I still play Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4, and even Bad Company 2. These games are not mutually exclusive, and so just have fun. If you have the money to spend another $60 on a game that you think you might just get 20, 30, 40 hours out of, then hey, pick this game up. It is going to be an immense amount of fun. And I can't wait to see the other maps that they have available. I cannot wait to see the other game modes. The two that we've seen so far are definitely a nice change of pace. And like I said, they're action-packed. It's not like tank superiority mode and air superiority modes from Battlefields 3 and 4. These are legit awesome spins. These are legit new additions to the Battlefield franchise. They're incredibly fun, and they have a unique feel to them. This is it's chaos like Obliteration mode and Rush mode, because there's that focal point. You don't have 7 objectives scattered about that all 64 players can go to. You have 1 or 2 focal points where the 32 players or 48 players focus on. And that makes it to where it's just constant action and it's very focused. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed the gameplay going on there in the background. I'm sure I've got other things that I would love to voice my opinions on for these games, but they just didn't come to mind, and I just don't want this video to get that much longer than it already is. So yeah, like I said, keep out for those other videos that I plan to make. The tips and tricks things, specific tips and specific things are obviously it's very specific to the map that we have right now and to the game modes. These are not going to be universal tips that apply to all the maps and things like that. So Keep an eye out for those, and keep an eye out for the video that focuses on the effectiveness and importance that is still there for vehicles. It is still a Battlefield game, so hope you guys enjoyed all of it and the commentary. Have a good one. Ta-ta.